Hello and welcome to Explore Analytics. Today we're going to talk about how you can report on workflow bottlenecks. What that means is anytime you have a workflow that goes through multiple steps and stages, how do you not just look at the end-to-end delivery time, but look at the steps within that to understand where in the process our delivery is being bottlenecked. So often you may start with a report like this. So this is looking at requested items. How long does it take to deliver? So you can see that some things are taking hours to deliver, some things are taking minutes or even seconds to deliver, and obviously one of the ways to increase efficiency is to reduce the amount of time it takes to deliver these items. You can get a huge amount of savings by making deliveries much more quick and efficient. But this report, which is pretty easy to put together, isn't telling you the whole story. We're seeing how long it takes to deliver something. We don't know what's affecting that delivery time. Where along the process is, for example, the bring your own device setup being held up for hours. So we want to understand deeper. This report that we're looking at is looking at stuff from open to closed, right? That's the duration, but it's not capturing anything along the way. So instead, what we want to do is get to a report like this. This is the same report, but it's broken down into the different stages. This is going to take a little bit more to get to that deeper level, but you get a lot more information out of it. So for example, it looks like the bring your own device setup. The bulk of it is that time to deliver. But both the bring your own device setup and the building badge are spending an hour in the process waiting to be approved. Also, the bring your own device setup is waiting a little bit longer for someone to actually start work on that. So questions that we're going to ask is what's impacting the approval time, what's impacting the delivery time, what's impacting the time it takes for someone to start working. And the reason we're able to build this report is because there's flags along the way, date timestamps that tell us when was the process requested approval, when did it start working, and when was that work complete. So now we're going to take a look in Explore Analytics and show how in just a few clicks you can build this report very easily. So here in Explore Analytics, I've created a report on the requested item table in my ServiceNow instance called Bottlenecks. That is the list of all the items, and we're going to see how long it took to deliver. Now, in order to generate the information I need, I added all of the relevant date time fields. I actually added them as hidden because we're not actually going to use the fields themselves. We're just going to use them as the inputs in calculations. That's not necessary, but it makes the report a little bit easier to look at. And then after I had, when it was opened, when it was approved, when the approval was set, when it was due, the estimated delivery, work start and end, when it's closed, I can then click this calculator icon to create some calculated fields. Now for each of these, the calculation itself couldn't be simpler. I'm just using the duration function between two date timestamps to get, what's the time between them. So here, delivery time is the end-to-end duration from when it was open to when it was closed. But as we said in the top of the video, we want to go deeper than that. So I've created a few other calculations that break apart this process so we can identify some bottlenecks. So here's the time to approve from when it was open to when it was approved. The time to start work. So from when it was approved to the work start. And the work time itself from when the work was started to when it ended. So what that gives me is, was the problem that the approvers took too long to approve? Was it that once it was approved, it sat around before a team was actually able to begin fulfillment? Or was the fulfillment itself an actual challenge? A really great question to be able to start to frame how you should approach it. And then, for all of these individual items, we have these calculations. But we want to take this to the next level. We don't want to just show this list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new composite view on this view. And what that does is it allows me to take this list with those calculations and treat it as if it was all in the table for me to report against. So we'll call this bottleneck visualization. And I'm going to go and say edit this view without running. That way it won't need to run the query every time as I make the changes. And then when I'm done putting the report the way I want it to, I'll have it run the report. I want this report that I've built on top of that list to be a bar chart. So now I'm taking all of that information that I just prepared and I'm building a report on top of it. We're going to group it by item so we can see based on each item. And then for the value fields, instead of counting how many requests there are, I want to put the different times for those different phases. So as I drag time to start work, it'll default to count, but what I really want is to show, you could do average, but I prefer the median because it doesn't get swayed a lot by outliers. So the typical time, the median time to start work, the median time to approve, and we'll put that first actually, so that it's in order of the process, and then the median work time at the end, because that's the time it takes to complete the process. So now that we have that, I'm going to say show data, so now it'll actually run the query in real time every time I look at this report. Now, to make this a little bit more presentable, here's what we're going to do. A couple things. I'm going to look at, let's say, the top 20 without the other, just because there's a lot. Maybe we'll sort by the total time to deliver, so not each of the individuals from largest to smallest, because it'll really benefit us to focus on the stuff that takes the longest amount of time. Let's stack it up so that we can now see when we hover, this delivery of a request for an iPhone, all of those stages, and maybe we'll put down breakdowns, a label, so that it's very easy to see how long the process took. So as you can see, with just a few clicks, we created formulas for how to break down the time to approve, the time to start work, the work time, and it's very easy for me to now see each of those phases if I wanted to see, which ones took the longest to start the work, or which ones did the actual delivery time take the longest. It's very easy for me to do that just by looking at this report. So now you can see how you can build a report that looks at the bottlenecks in a process by looking at the different phases. Anywhere you have a date timestamp, you could do this. Again, you could apply the same thing to the problem management table to see the time from when an issue was reported, to when the problem was opened, to when it was resolved, or to changes, the various stages within the change. Again, all of this is something that you can very easily see using these few steps. Thank you for watching. If you have Thank you for watching this video. You can check out other videos on this channel for more information on how you can do things like calculations and composite views, or examples of other ways that you can do analysis into these kinds of questions. Hope you have a great time exploring your data, and good luck.